Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. In today's video, I'm going to be covering Ethereum as well as Bitcoin in the short and the longer term. I've had quite a lot of requests for Ethereum, so I'm going to be covering the Ethereum from the longer term perspective first of all, as well as the shorter term price levels that you can be looking out for. But before I begin, the usual disclaimer and a polite reminder that please remember all my videos are for educational purposes only. None of my videos should be taken as financial advice. Please do your wider research before you make any financial decisions. So with that out of the way, remember it's Sunday. It's our Sunday treat of a Snickers bars, a cup of tea, eyes on the screen, and let's get cracking. Okay, so over the last year, I've been showing you this particular chart, and this is on the weekly time frame. And I've said many times that the most important line for Ethereum is this red line stretching from its inception around here back in 2016, and it goes all the way through, and it's still proving very relevant and very important, and it will do so right to the end of this bull market and beyond. So what you got with this red line is that it started off as a support line here. It continued as support here and there. Once we broke the support, we came down to this trend line here, which then acted as support many times. And I remember I did many videos that when this line was going to be broken here, that's when we needed to get into Ethereum to ride this break of this trend line here. It's exactly what's happened here. And I said in my many videos before that this red line is going to be proving to be very strong support as we move up in this bull market. And so it's proving to be the case. Now we've just come up to this all-time high around about the 4,000 plus mark, 4,300. We got rejected and came back to this line as support, but we're now coming back to higher levels. And I'm going to show you on a shorter term time frame exactly what's going to be happening here in the next few weeks and months. But before I do that, I'm going to show you what I'm expecting in the next few months as we come to the end of this bull market with both the Ethereum and the Bitcoin and all the altcoins as well. So just to give you a recap, what we've done from this bottom here, when we reached $80, around down here, to this point at around about the 4,000 plus mark. So this marks, this move that we had here is very reminiscent to this move that we had here. Although this was much steeper, this hasn't been as steep. And always remember, patterns don't just repeat, they just rhyme. So very similar, but not exactly. So we've had this move here, replicated by this move here, to this point there. If I draw a horizontal line at this point here, which was the end of this rise that we've seen in 2016, you can see quite clearly that we had a rejection. We came back, retested this old high there, and got another rejection before we broke out on the third go, culminating in the blow off top here in January 2018. Now look what's happened here. We've had this similar rise from there to there, which is replicating this to this. So what we're waiting for is this neckline being established here. So if I put a line there at 4,300, I'm going to be looking at this in the shorter term time frame, but just keep this in mind and park the idea there. But before we move on to the shorter term analysis, I want to show you something. So currently over here, we're replicating the same move that we had in 2016-17. So if we take this blow off top from this correction point there, and we put this here, you can see quite clearly that we're going to be topping off in this region around here. That could be anywhere from 19,000 to our target, which I've had for the last 2.5 years, of 21,450. So in the longer term, we must be aware that the price of Ethereum is heading in this direction. And if this was to repeat itself, which, like I say, it rhymes but doesn't repeat, if it did repeat to give us some sort of a guidance, then it would end around about here, around January 2022, which seems not too far from our expected blow off top around December this year. Okay, so now that you've got the bigger picture, this is what's happening here. We're coming up to this neckline here, and I'm going to give you some levels. So we're now going to concentrate on this part here. Having had a look at the bigger picture, we know exactly where everything's heading. Just ignore these green lines for the time being. I'll show you these green lines when we look at the shorter term time frame. I still want to look at the larger term time frame, but looking at the closer picture of what's happening here. So as you can see, we came to our all-time high here at 4,300 plus. And because we got rejected, always remember the golden rule that wherever we get a strong rejection, like we got here, like that, then whenever we come back to that neckline, like we're going to be coming back in this region very shortly, the probability is very, very high that we're going to have another rejection. And we'll have a look at the levels where it may come back down to, but certainly we are more than likely going to see a correction at these levels to see a double top and test it again to move to the upside. So if we take the range from the top of this candle here to the body of those candles there, so we can see quite clearly that the bodies of the candles here, when we were replicating that move over here, we got rejection here at the 3,900 level. So these levels are extremely important if you want to know the levels at which we're going to come and get a rejection. So more than likely, we're going to be testing this all-time high, and with a very high degree of probability, we'll get a rejection initially before testing it again. And at that point, we may break up or even come back a little bit and come and test it the next time before we break up. The more times we test it, the weaker that neckline becomes and more chances we have of actually breaking through. So this is where we are at the moment. We're going to be hanging around this 3,900 mark for a while. Currently we're at 3,400, so we've just had that rejection at 3,900. But we're going to have a look at where the levels are coming back up to the 3,900 level, as well as the 4,300 level, the all-time high. Okay, so if we have a look at Ethereum on the 4-hour chart, we've really zoomed in with this move here. As I said, we got rejected at the 3,900 level here, simply because if you look left, there was a rejection here. So we've replicated that. This is where the bodies of those candles on the weekly chart came up to. And this is the all-time high here. But we're not going to get to the all-time high before we navigate through these levels here, which is what I'm going to show you now. So as you can see, when we had this big fall along with Bitcoin a few days ago, we had a jump back up, and the critical levels, whenever you see this type of a move, the main things to remember when you have a big fall to the downside or a big pump to the upside is where it finds support and resistance, because those levels will be telling you what's going to happen. So those are the clues as to where the market will move up or down to. So if we take this fall here, we came all the way up to this level here at around about the 3,500, 3,400 level. And what happened was we got a rejection at that point. And so the other important level was this point here at around about the 3,200 level. So now this established the support and resistance in the short term. So as you can see, as we went on with this move, we came up to this level here and got rejected. Where did we get back down to? Back to these levels again here. And now we're moving back up, and guess where we're going to be going back to? Yes, we're going to have to come up to this level, this green line here, this dotted line, up to this level. You're probably wondering what these two blue lines are. Well, If you do the Fibonacci retracement level from this high where we just got rejected to this low where we came down to, you'll see that these two lines are the various levels on the Fibonacci retracement. So this blue line here is at the 3,500 level, and this blue line here is at the 3,640 level. In the short term, these are critical levels, and they also coincide with the support and resistance. Look, this 50% mark at 3,520 coincides with this level here. So we know that when the price for Ethereum comes up to this line here, which is going to be about 3,500, because we've tried it once here and got rejected, the chances are usually on the second go, we do get rejected again. So when that comes back down, we will make another third attempt before we move to the next line, which is 3,642. Please remember, this is not financial advice, and we're talking about probabilities, not certainties. If there's a lot of momentum or there's a lot of volume coming in, then these lines are broken straight through. And that's why we always have to qualify ourselves by saying that it's with a degree of probability, a high degree or a low degree, because there is no certainty that it will break through on the second, third, or the fourth go. But what we do know is that these levels are very much respected. So the first time we come back to this 61.8 level at 3,640, we know that historically we tend to get rejected the first time. And I would be expecting that to come back down to retest these lower levels here. May even come back to this dotted line here at 3,300, which is the neckline here, which extends to the neckline here when it came back down to, we found support down there. So the current price for Ethereum is at 3,442, and we're coming up to the first of these Fibonacci retracement lines at 50% at this neckline here. I would expect a rejection at this point here, maybe back to this neckline at this point here, around about the 3,300 level, before we make another attempt and go through and test this 61.8 Fibonacci level at 3,640, at which point there will be strong resistance at this point, and there's a very high degree of probability we're going to be rejected at that point before we move on to the next line and retest this 3,900 level again. So the levels to look out for in the very short term, in the next few days, is basically 3,500, which is at the 50% Fibonacci retracement level. This level here, very, very strong, the 61.8 Fibonacci level at 3640, and then at this level here, 3,900. I would be expecting Ethereum sometime next week or the week after to be testing this all-time high of around 4,300. So we'll have to wait and see, but these are the levels to look out for in the short term. The final thing I want to mention with Ethereum in this analysis is that, coming back to the long-term trend line here, the red one, when we do top out in the next few months, please remember we're going to be coming back in the bear market back to this red line here. So I would strongly recommend you to draw this red line here. It will help you with the levels in the future with Ethereum. If you want to support the channel, then please click on any of my videos, and then below the videos you'll find a box called Show More, which gives you a description box, and in that description box is the affiliate link with Etoro that I have. So I partner up with Etoro because that's the main exchange I use for all my investments. These are the reasons why I tend to use Etoro. It's a very simple exchange to use in terms of depositing money and withdrawing the money, as well as trading if that's what you want to do, as well as for long-term investing, which is what I tend to do. So if you want to support the channel, please click on the partnership link, and then what you'll do is you'll get this box here, and then you can basically put your username, email and password and just fill in the form there. If you like any of my videos and you find value in them, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Turning to Bitcoin, if we look at the weekly chart and the 21 weekly exponential moving average, we can see quite clearly that we came to the 21 weekly, we've used it as support, and this candle will be closing tonight at 1 o'clock GMT time. And if it closes with this support, that would be extremely bullish and would be the springboard for taking off in the next few months. As I've shown you many times with this, we use the 21 as support. And this is exactly what's happening here, because historically, that's what's happened multiple times, as I've shown you in the past here. So it's very important that we keep our eye on the 21 weekly exponential moving average and where it closes tonight. Okay, a quick look at the hash ribbons. And as I've been showing you the last many videos now, that when we got this buy signal here at around about the $44,000 mark, we said that it was going to use that as a support level, because whenever we get these buy signals, the price for Bitcoin never comes back to those levels ever again. And you can go back in history, whenever we hit these buy signals, we never seem to come back down to these levels ever again. Apart from this one here, all of the other 10, 11 signals have basically proven to be absolutely 100% accurate. So we use these to predict the support level at 44,000 here. So let's have a look at the chart with a close-up view over here. Now, if we have a look at the daily pivots, these have proved very accurate. And as you know from the previous few videos that I've done now, that we were very highly likely to come up to the R1 level at around about the 51, 52 level. So this was at 52,600, around that level. And I said quite clearly that we were going to have a very high degree of probability, a rejection at those points here. And that the natural point, at that point, it hadn't come down to this level. And I said that the P level is the support line that we could be looking forward to. So that when we got rejected here, this is where, with a high degree of probability, we're going to find the bounce before we start moving to the upside. So we've had the rejection, we've had the bounce, so we need to know where next for this. And we need to look at the shorter term time frame to determine the levels before we get to these levels again. And as you know, if you've been watching my previous videos, that once we get past this level here, by coming up, more than likely we'll get rejected one more time there before we finally break through. But it's this level here, at the R2 line, with a high degree of probability, a rejection at these points, at 58, 57,000 mark. And that's because if we look left, we can see at these points, there's a lot of resistance and support along these lines there. Before moving on to the shorter term analysis, I want to bring you back to the pi cycle. This is one of our main exit indicators, which has proved to be very accurate over the last 11 years. And as we can see, when we had this cycle top at 64K, we had this cross of the red line crossing above the green line. The red line is the 111 daily moving average and the green is the 350 daily moving average. Obviously, after the cross, it crossed back down again here, creating this gap. So what we're waiting for is for the red line to come back up towards the green line and cross one more time, which would be the blow off top that we're looking for. And the interesting thing is that as we were coming down here, the price was in this bearish trend here. But now, as you can see, we've just taken an upturn. So hopefully this is now going to be starting to move up while this comes along here. So sooner or later, we're going to be crossing this, and that would be our cycle top. So the most important thing is to keep this bigger picture view that we're waiting for the pi cycle top to cross before the market can come to an end in this bull market. So coming back to the current view of the Bitcoin prices, as we've seen, we know that we've got this strong trend line here and this strong support line here, and the price has been moving between this. And as you know from the previous videos, I said that when this market comes to this line here, with a very high degree of probability, we're going to get a rejection down to the 44,000 level mark. Now that's exactly where we are, and as we've seen with the hash ribbons, this is now providing the underpinning support that we need for the Bitcoin price to move back towards this line again here. However, as you can see with these white lines which I've drawn in for you and these green lines, I've drawn a lot of support which we'll look at in the shorter term. But before we have a look at the white lines, you can see that I've drawn these green lines in here, levels of support. And if we zoom into these, you can see why I've done that. So I've drawn in these key levels with these three green lines here. So the next level that we're expecting a strong resistance and with a high degree of probability, a correction, will be at this first green line. And this level has got quite a lot of confluencing factors actually. This range price that I'm expecting a correction at next time is basically from around 48,800 to 49,200, so about a 500 range here. And that's based on rejection here, support here, level of support again here, and again we got rejection at these points here. So we know that these are very important levels. And it's not going to be easy to come up to this level and then just barge through. Can it do that? Of course it can. This is Bitcoin. It can do whatever it wants. But with a very high degree of probability, we're going to see some correction at these 48 levels. And these two white lines, I'll show you when we look at closer view of it, are the Fibonacci retracement 61.8. So again, another confluence of factors. When it's a 61.8, you have to respect that. The next level to look out for after the 48,000 is this level here at 57,000 to 58,000. And again, this is based on strong rejection here. So when we came up here, look what happened, a very strong red candle to the downside. So we know this level is going to be important. So when we came back up again here, we got rejected at the $58,000 mark down to this level here, 57,000. And when we came up again, we got rejected again at the 58,000 mark. Again, support and resistance here, and again resistance at this point. So we know when the price comes back up here, we're going to find with a very high degree of probability a rejection. So keep these levels in mind, 57, 58, 48 to 49,000 here. The next level above this is going to be the 61,000 mark. And that's based on the rejection we got here when we came up, this rejection which nearly came up to that level, and this actual rejection here again. So we know these are going to be very important levels. So we may get another minor correction at this level when we come to the 61,000 mark. And of course, we have to draw the $64,000 mark here. That's going to be a natural rejection point at this level when we come to test the all-time high of 64,000. So these are the very important levels you should keep an eye on and draw them into your chart if you are doing so. So what are these white lines here that I've drawn in? These are the very short-term levels for the next few days. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so some short-term analysis on Bitcoin. This was the fall that we just had recently in the last few days at the 52,000 mark. We came back to this level here, and this is where we got rejected at this point here. So we know that this is an important level. And when it came back down, it came back to this level here. So we know that this is also an important level. So we've now established support and resistance range here. So for the last few days, what we've done is to actually move between this range here and this range down here. You can see that with this movement in the price in between this range. Currently, we're at this point here, just below this important line at 46,400. So we've been rejected at 46,400 there. We've been rejected at 46,400 there. So the chances are we're going to be hanging around this level anyway before we break through. But the important one is this one here at 47,300, because that's where the neckline is over here. And we got rejected at this point here as well. So this is your next level to look for at 47,300. So again, we would expect a little bit of a correction from the 47,300 back down to around about 46,400 to retest this as a support before we move on to this level here. Now, I've drawn these two white lines, which are representing 61.8 Fibonacci retracement levels, and this is the 78.6. And I've drawn it from this point here where we got rejected at 52,000 down to this level where we found support. And you can see that the 61.8 level comes exactly at the 49,000 mark here. So what we can expect is for the price to move here towards the 47,300. Once we get past this, like I said, we're going to expect a rejection at this point here before we move up. But when we come up, the key levels to remember will be these two here, the Fibonacci retracement golden pocket of 49,093 and 49,400. So that range of 49,100 to 49,400. And the one above that is the 78.6 Fibonacci at 50,795 at this level here. Now, it's not going to be plain sailing going up to these levels, because I can tell you that this level here, this is the 44,000 level mark, is still on the table. So when we do have a rejection, and I would be expecting an important rejection here at the $47,000 mark. And if we zoom out, we can see some pattern here, which is very typical of Bitcoin. And that is that whenever we make a recovery to higher levels, we always have falls like this, look. So as we're going up, we're going to be getting these types of falls. So I would expect that as we're moving through these levels, on one of these corrections, there is a good degree of probability to come back down to this level, at least at the 44,000, and test it once again to double bottom at this level. I'm not expecting it to come back down to this level though, although it's still possible, of course. But with a higher degree of probability, we're going to test this 44,000 one more time. So we're going to have some sort of a move like this, come back down, and then go and test this trend line here one more time. And that trend line could be at this level here, this Fibonacci 78.6, around about this $50,000 mark. So a lot of excitement going on with Bitcoin, as you can see. So these are the levels I want you to be looking out for in the next few days, possibly next couple of weeks. The current price is here at 46,053, and we're coming up to this first neckline at 46,400, where we're going to find a little bit of resistance before we move on to the next line here at 47,000, and then the 49,000 Fibonacci 61.8 level here. So the levels are basically here at 46,400, 47,000, 49,000, and then 50,000. And I'll keep you updated with these levels in the next few videos. I'm sorry I won't have any time for a wisdom bite this week, but if you found value in this technical analysis for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, then please remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. And if you want to make any comments, questions or suggestions, then please leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.